You're listening to Cold Press Conversations with Dr. Jewel White Williams, a lover of numbers, lists, and a good glass of cold pressed juice, who is sharing episodes each week to help you explore the back end of healthcare and health sciences. Where a lot of that grit is done, we'll dive into topics covering research, education, and clinical practices, as well as guest shows with other leaders in the field. Pull up a seat and let's dive into these amazing and game changing conversations. What if the key to healing your mind, body, and spirit wasn't found in a prescription bottle or a self help book, but on canvas, in a song, or any kind of movement? We're going to be focusing on how creativity heals your mind and your body. It's kind of like reclaiming who you are. And that is what I believe exhausted professionals who feel unseen, drained, and unsure of how to restore their sense of self needs to begin. They need to look at the whole picture. Let me just give you something really quickly. I love research and I wanted to pull something just give a little credence as to what I'm talking about. From the research from the University of Calgary, they show that practicing art can reduce cortisol levels, improve emotional regulation, and create a sense of well-being. Hmm. Oh, I got to give you some neuroscience connection here. Engaging in art triggers dopamine release and the brain, which is like the brain's feel good, chemical. It enhances our mood, our emotional stability. So, my hope for you within this particular episode is so that you can consider some simple acts of creativity. Some people like to just journal. Some people like to sketch. Some people love music. Some people like to just dibble dab in a little paint. But I want you to know that using some of those tools can be extremely powerful for self care. I am Dr. Jewel. I am a health and wellness specialist on so many occasions. I have a doctorate in health sciences, and I welcome you to Cold Press Conversations. There are a total of 8 dimensions or areas of wellness. And I will be focusing on emotional wellness because I find that educators, especially whether you're working as a health educator or educator in higher education, or you're in the pre-K 12 setting, that it is an emotional roller coaster being in that classroom. And I understand it wholeheartedly. I've been in the pre-K 12 setting and I have just entered again into education in the higher education level. And there's stresses anywhere. Even if you're doing it from a community service standpoint, micro school, education can be challenging and it can focus on our emotional wellness and our emotional well-being. But I want to kind of give you just a touch of what exactly is emotional wellness. It's defined as an ability to effectively cope with your life challenges and create a relationship, like feeling satisfied as to who you are. We accept the feelings that are there, but we can manage effectively through those challenging times and through those times where there is a need for change. And unfortunately, sometimes we are forced into change and sometimes we are forced into a challenge. But I believe that emotional well being can happen. We have to find that sense of meaning and purpose in life. We have to find that sense of reflective judgments of life, whether it is satisfied or dissatisfied. We have to find that we give ourselves that one moment of resetting and reconnecting so that we can feel more loved. And I'm talking about self love. There's so much science that goes into healing and well being, but I stated I'm going to take it from an art perspective. Although I do not have an art therapy degree, I do want to state that what I'm discussing today is something that I love to do. Yep, it's one of those little mini things that I have that I enjoy doing. When I feel like I need to get something off, I do journal. I believe in journaling. Off of the chest and out of the mind, I actually get paper. I sometimes use markers, the felt markers. pencils, and believe it or not, when my daughter lets me, because she is an extreme artist, I mean, she loves art on so many levels, from painting, photography, as well as pottery. I sometimes have the opportunity to use some of her acrylic paints as well. But one thing that she does laugh about with me is the way that I paint or the way that I sketch or try to create my human beings. It can be kind of hilarious. But one thing that I realized through a lot of my learning about art, and I did it just for fun. I just loved the part of it. I did it for fun because I just like to sketch. And it came from my dad. We would sit down maybe at a restaurant, and that was a big occasion, mind you, especially when I grew up. And he would take a pen, he would always have a pen somewhere, and he would sketch and draw people. And he would have exaggerated um, places on the person. So I didn't realize that that could be an indicator of how he may be feeling or what he may have seen. And being that it was more sketch work, there's so much that goes into that that talks about the therapy of one's body and the way they feel. But back to what I was stating. Sorry for the segue. My daughter looked at some of my artwork and she goes, "Oh my gosh, look at the colors that you were using." Colors give an indication of how we feel. And we may just decide to use it at that particular moment, not realizing that when I was using that, it was allowing me to identify that my emotions were in process. You know, art therapy has been shown to decrease one's stress, allow us to identify with our self awareness. And that is what I want to discuss because my prefrontal cortex, got to give a little neuroscience, our brain center for emotional processing, it was being activated. Those colors were coming out. They were being activated and allowing it to see where it was coming. So I would love to have, well, I did have someone interpret it, and they were a counselor because I wanted to learn more about the art, especially after my daughter identified the colors that were there and the landscapes that I created. And she's like, "I need you to understand, mom, that's something pretty decent. It's beautiful, but then you also had a part that was very like not concerning, but like, oh my gosh. Hmm. How are you feeling? Was it after work? Was it after cleaning, the house? Or did you just come home from traffic? Or did you go away and come back? What exactly happened at that point when you drew that particular thing or did a sketch from that?" And one item I had to learn when talking to the counselor, she stated that it is a form of psychotherapy. It's a way to communicate and a way to express how we feel. And it can go so deep. Let me pull something up. I gotta share this with you. All right. There was a trial that they did in 2018. I'm gonna have to look it up because I just pulled something up. And it was in reference to our therapy sessions where it improves someone's the depression, anxiety scores. So they look at depression. They also say it can reduce symptoms of anxiety, depression, and pain to improve the quality for life for cancer patients as well. And then Mahidol University found that stroke patients who receive physical therapy combined with twice a week creative art therapy has significant better scores for depression, physical function, and quality of life. So that's just a little pinch of what I gathered really quickly. I knew I had a little section here. So when we think about art and we think about its therapy, I'm not saying you have to go through a therapist, you have to go to a counselor. I'm just stating that it heals our mind and can identify some things that are there. And that is one way that you can reclaim who you are, like identify who you feel like you are. It allows you to go back and look at the work that you have had. And to be honest with you, now that I go back, because I have about 5 years worth of art, it's pretty interesting. Nothing like what my daughter does. Mine is very obtuse. It's very odd, but it allows me to see how I've grown. It allows me to process my emotions as well because I'm like, okay, what date did I put on here? It allows me to see where I have grown and what actually may have occurred from my journal entries. And then I look at the art that comes along with it. And it allows me to identify my emotional balance, whether or not it was a small activity I decided to do for just 1 second, or whether or not it was something where I was trying to process my emotions, or whether or not I was just allowing myself to just continue to learn more about myself. And art is just that. We need to find a way that we can use art each and every day. And I know I discussed not just the sketching part, but I also talked about songs and I also discussed about movement. So now that I've taken you through my very unique journey of drawing, okay, and yes, these were done by an amazing artist. Not my daughter, but another artist that I know. And she's actually they kind of working hand in hand together. The song. When we talk about songs and how we sing, there's some people who do not feel comfortable with songs either. And having songs in our lives or having music in our lives can be extremely functional. Just think about the places where you play music. Some people play music when they first get up, and it gives them something of joy. I think I have a clip of myself getting ready for work. I'll have to share it. It's pretty funny. But I love having a little music. It puts me in that mood so that I can get ready for work. I love what I do, so it's no problem with that. But even when you find something that can be challenging, some of us may even pop a song in our head and you start singing it. I want you to take that one small second to consider the song that you chose and the words that go along with that song and your mood. It's called processing. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to process exactly what's happening at that moment. Some people enjoy music when they clean the home. Some people love music when they're driving down the road. If it's late at night, do you play slow music? I doubt it. If you do, courageous. Some people like playing something that's super loud, rock, classic rock, hard rock. Some people love country music. I love it all. Okay. Sometimes I put a little country on. Sometimes I may put on some R&B, classic rock, especially if it's been a long night and we've been rolling and I want to hear something. And I'm like, want to hear some of the old school. I put on that classic rock and I hit that road. Okay. Consider the time that you're using that music, what's happening in the music, like time of day, believe it or not, what's happening, what are you doing, and your mood. That allows you to become more self aware. I got to talk to you about that. Self aware of who you are, where you are, and your emotions. Remember, we're focusing on our emotions, we're processing our emotions during this time. And this allows us, and yes, singing a song, listen to music, and sing along with it is a form of creativity. And you could be healing your mind at that moment when you're doing that. Could be healing your body while you're doing that. So many people dance while they are cleaning. Can you imagine what your body is feeling? Those beautiful neurons are working, your muscles are moving, you have all that energy flowing, and it allows you to create your own well being. Not going to leave out the movement. I just talked about movement. I would love to show you a clip of me doing some line dancing, but I wasn't in the full picture. So it's all good. But I do enjoy that. I do enjoy going out with friends and dancing, line dancing, whatever it takes to enjoy life. And consider how you feel when you're finished. Some people are so thoroughly exhausted after singing the songs and doing so much and dancing so much. Maybe we have exhausted ourselves, not just physically, but mentally, because it could be a release of some really good stuff that's in our body. Well, not good, not so good stuff, actually, in our bodies that we need to release. And I want you to consider that. So when we think about reclaiming the you during this creativity process, I want you to consider how your body heals in this process, where your mind is, and how you're functioning. That is important, super important. Now, I would love to ask this question to you. How often do you allow yourself to process your emotions creatively? I think that is extremely important for us to know. So, my action for you is to really take this opportunity the next time that you sing a song or you doodle or you decide to move your body, consider where your emotions are, where you are, what type of song, if you're listening to a song you're doing, or the colors that you're doing or using for painting, or if you decide you're going to do nothing but black and white, and consider your stance of your emotion. It's kind of like journaling, but it's in a different format. It's more like kinesthetic. And I want you to consider those three areas, because if you allow yourself to process your emotions creatively, that will afford you an opportunity to feel seen, to feel energized, and to feel restored. Because remember, as professionals, and I've been there, that often feeling as a professional of exhaustion, feeling unseen or drained, and not having a sense of restoration for self can be exhausting and can wear on our bodies and our minds. And I don't want that. I want you to feel energized. I want you to feel restored. But paying attention to what's happening to your body and what you're doing at that time and what type of song you're singing will allow you to be even more aware of your own personal emotions, your well-being. I leave just one other tiny item for you. I want to give you encouragement. I want you to integrate one simple practice, one of these creative, simple practices in your routine. I know I challenged you to consider how often you allow yourself to process your emotions creatively, and I wanted you to be aware of how to do so. But I just encourage you to integrate one of these creative practices that I've discussed today into your routine so that you can be a person who is reclaiming your mind and your body. Until next time, this is Dr. Jewel. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cold Press Conversations. If you love this episode as much as I did, I need you to head on over and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This is Dr. Jewel signing off to health and cognitive happiness.